What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracy, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Grit, and we're changing it up. We're not live. Well, I'm live in the studio, but we have a virtual guest coming to us all the way from Kentucky. This is really cool. So a couple weeks ago in the Legend of Doc Ping episode, Doc started talking about Motown and how Motown had such an impact on his life because through Motown, he learned how to speak English and taught himself English. I'm looking at this as like Speakeasy Podcast Studio is like the new Motown. I've also mentioned my this book that I read recently, The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and it's dissecting success. And so I've thought about this a lot about what Speakeasy is bringing to Brighton, or just obviously even a bigger community with our guest Jason Ballard all the way in Kentucky. But it's creating this community in allowing us to take this podcasting thing and just really grow it, get good at it, explode it. And when we look at Motown and really how it became successful, it was a community. It was this platform, kind of like Speakeasy. We got Rob is like Barry Gordy over here, right? So right. And you think about listen where I'm going. You think about the crossovers that they had, right? You look at the Temptations and Smokey Robinson, and they became really good because they stuck together and they really honed their craft together. And so that, long story short, is the crossovers. I got to be on Jason Ballard's podcast, the Soar Higher podcast. I think it was back in May or June now, and just had an awesome time. It was an incredible podcast. And so Jason Ballard is the founder of Soar Higher Business Coaching. And I love how he calls himself the Business Wingman, because it's kind of the same mission I'm on, is to give the resources and empower people to go out and grow and crush their goals and grow their businesses. So Jason, welcome to Coffee and Grit all the way from Kentucky.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you, Jace. Thanks for having me on the show. We had a great time a few months ago on my show. Definitely want to have you back again, and just happy to be here with you and your folks today.
Man, I'm super excited because I get to kind of dive into your story. You got to hear mine and ask me all the questions. So now I get to flip the script and I get to learn more about you. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah. It's interesting to be in the podcasting arena, because one day you're the host and you got to plan and ask questions and keep everything flowing and really bring out the best of that podcast, and usher those conversations. And then it's nice to be on the other side of that fence where you've got to figure all that out, and I just get to have fun and say what I want to say on your show, right? So I'm looking.
So which one do you have? Do you have a favorite? Do you like one over the other, or is it kind of just different?
I like the mix. There are times I love to host. I love to have people on the show and learn about them and ask them questions and really dig in on their story and what's unique about it and how they overcome something and maybe some new cool thing they're come out with that's going to save the world one day and just really kind of geek out on that kind of stuff. It's really fun but I also like being on other people's podcasts too. It's a nice blend. I like both.
Me too. I'm the same way. It's because sometimes it is nice talking about yourself. We're human. We like talking about ourselves. We like being asked about what we have going on.
Yeah. So, we're cool people.
We're cool people.
We hear about us. Come on now.
So with that, man, tell me, how did you get where you're at now? Tell me your story.
Oh boy. Let me see if I can summarize it as simple as I can, because there's a lot there. Small town boy, grew up in nowhere, Florida, out in the country on a ranch. Family had a construction business, grew up in the construction trades industry, which basically meant I was my dad's free, cheap laborer that he can kick around and yell at and go fetch stuff for him and, help him be successful in his business. But no, I learned a lot by doing that and working with him and it was a great experience. And so, we did okay, but we weren't on top of our game as far as, family dynamics. We weren't rich. We did okay. We never missed any meals, but I always just had like, Jason, it's just really weird. I've always just had like this inner desire, this inner kind of vision of myself in where I'm at in the world. And as a young person, I didn't really fully understand it, but I just knew there was something there. And I knew while I liked the trades industry, it just wasn't something I was super passionate about. Like, oh, I can't wait for dad to get old so I can take over the company and make it a $1 zillion company, right? It just wasn't there. And so my parents split up into my upper high school years, and I just didn't have resources, man. And I just had this desire to be the first person in my family to ever go to college. So I knew people in the military, so I joined the military in an effort to get the educational benefits out of it. Was going to go in for a few years. That turned into 20 something years.
Wow.
And what I had learned in that process through other mentors and people that kind of saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. I was just a small town boy, never been anywhere, never did anything outside of my little world. And man, that opportunity just exposed me to a big world. And man, it was like drained through the water hose. But other people saw something in me, a passion, work ethic, integrity, whatever all that stuff was. They said, man, I remember Tom Glenn was my very first mentor. He was a colonel in the Air Force. And he came up to me one day and he says, hey, I want to take you to lunch. Let's go to lunch. I want to talk to you about some things. We get to lunch. He starts asking me questions. He's like, Jason, I don't know what it is about you, man, but you got like an it factor. Like you have something. I don't know exactly what that is, but I want to find out because I just see something in you. And man, I think if you take some mentorship and you do some things the right way, man, you can go a long way. And that was the first time I'd really that really hit me. I'm
Yeah.
like, I took a step back. I'm like, whoa, like what is he talking about here? Right. And then I got introduced to leadership and I loved it, fell in love with it. I just took off with it and was an officer. Stayed in over 20. Ended up retiring as an officer, senior officer, and I just had a lot of wonderful opportunities to work with a lot of wonderful people. Then I was into the political arena, while in the military and out of the military. Did a lot of advising of political leaders. That led to some other business ventures with some other folks. And then that led me to coaching. I kind of came to this crossroads where I looked at myself and I said, what the hell do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
I had already had a couple of careers already. I was already retired from the military and I was at a crossroads, Jace. And I said, what do I really care about the most? What am I the most passionate about? It was leadership, mentoring. And I've been doing that my whole career, almost 30-year career. I was like, whatever I do going forward is going to be doing that all day, every day. And then I came across coaching. I'm like, bam, that's it. And I built a coaching business and got trained, certified, accredited, all that kind of stuff. And it's been
Wow.
awesome. It's a wonderful job. I love it. Love the clients, love the business, love everything about it. And very blessed, very thankful.
Before we get back at it, a quick shout out for our sponsor, Playbook Builder, powered by AI. This show has always been about giving the resources and the tools to small business owners in order to grow and scale your businesses successfully. And so I'm so excited to partner with a company that does just that. If you've listened and heard any of our guests, you've heard talking about building process, developing and training, building culture are all such important pieces in order to building a great company. Well, Playbook Builder, powered by AI, has come along and revolutionized the game on how you can do that for your team and people. Whether you're onboarding new people, training and developing, continued training and developing, you're looking to scale your business or eventually sell, or most importantly, you're looking to build a legacy as a visionary. Playbook Builder powered by AI is able to solve those problems for you. For me as a consultant, I've been able to plug in, and it's so amazing for what I do for clients. I can now leave a legacy. And so, for example, I'm next week training a new hire for a company, and I've been able to build out the next month of her training program using Playbook Builder powered by AI. The cool thing about the AI, what does that do? What's the hardest part of building out a process? Taking the step by step and making it easy to learn. What the AI piece does is you can actually type in what process it is, whether you want to onboard, if you want to onboard a new employee, type in onboard a new employee and what type of industry you're in, and the AI will put together a foundation for you to build out your playbook. It is absolutely incredible. But don't take my word for it. Head on over to playbookbuilder.com, and these guys have set it up to where you can take this for a test run with no obligations. Plug in what kind of playbook you want to build. If it's a sales training playbook, for example, plug that in the description. And in the description, you can also put in what kind of industry you're in, and then hit generate, and it will generate a playbook for you. Impress from there, and you can take a 30-day free trial of the playbook system altogether. Well, so cool. So you go into the military thinking you're going to be there. I'm just going to bide out my time, 2 or 3 years, and it sounds like it's the leadership that just holds you in.
Yeah. Well, there's the old saying, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
And I was fresh off the farm, and there was a lot of stuff I didn't know. I knew that I was a hard worker. I knew I could outwork anybody. I knew I was smart. But being smart doesn't take you the distance. You've got to be smart in a lot of different ways. Being a book smart, it's not the same as street smart. It's not the same as being leadership smart. It's not the same
yeah,
as being, entrepreneur smart, right? There's a lot of definitions of smart, but I knew I could figure things out quick. I knew I had the ability to assess situations and people in it and figure things out because I was a problem solver. I see something, I step up, and I just figure out how to get the results. And that's what people saw in me initially. And then they got to learn from me, like, oh my God, overcame all these odds. You've come from a certain place in your life where things were hard and struggling to here. Like you've got to do something with that. Like you're not just an average everyday person. Like, not that I'm better than everybody,
yeah,
but I just had different things about me that, if leveraged right, could make a big impact in the way that I can make the impact. And so that is all, incorporated into my coaching and guiding people, directing people, and giving them all the tools, the knowledge, the resources, the motivation, just all of the real nitty-gritty stuff that people need to fight through the daily fights of business and being in a career, of being in a position of leadership. Those are hard positions to be in. That's the hardest road to plow. And
yeah.
if you can get that formula right, you can do some amazing things in this world. And holy cow, man. We need a lot more leaders in the world. We need more problem solvers, people that can get along and overcome the current state of affairs in our country.
Well, and that's huge, and I love how you went from being in the military and that experience and transitioning it into business and coaching. And it's that proof that that leadership is so needed, and it crosses
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. The wonderful thing about the military is two things. One, you're going to lead whether you like it or not. And two, they're going to teach you, train you, develop you into these types of situations, whether you like it or not. That's just to me, I haven't seen anywhere in the world, any business, small
Yeah.
business, medium-sized business, corporations, nonprofits, government entities, whatever. The military is by far the best place that puts proactive thought, planning, budgeting into developing every single member on the team.
That's incredible. I never really thought about it, but
You
that's
you don't get promoted, you don't advance, you don't be as successful as you wanna be, regardless of how you define that, without going through that process. And whether you like it or not, I I met a few people in my career in the military, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm not a college person, and I just didn't wanna go to college, and so I went in the military so I didn't have to go to college, and the first thing they did is sent me to school. Couldn't get away from it." I'm like, "Well, unless you're an expert on what they're trying to get you to do, you probably need to learn how to do it so you don't hurt anybody in the process, right?" But the military is very intentional, man. They've got big training and development budgets, and they will send you there. You will be out of your job, and you will focus 24/7 on the training and the development for that period of time. And so they're really good at building leaders. Very good.
it's so interesting that because as you talk about that, I think of the big gap from the military and their intentional training and developing of everybody versus being in the business world. And I've been in sales my whole life, for example, and I've always joked that the sales training is here's your business card, here's some leads, go call them, and there you go, and
Yeah.
you just kind of learn on the run. There's no system or process, and a lot of times it's just go out there and you see that a lot in a lot of business, just the lack of development of your individuals.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of business, especially now, especially coming out of COVID and all that stuff, very actionary, just kind of in survival mode more than kind of thriving mode, proactive, kind of getting ahead of things and being a little more strategic in your thinking and planning. And whether that's hiring or buying equipment or investing or expanding or whatever that may be, right? There's a lot of people I meet, the majority of people I meet, they do a little bit of planning but man, it's just a lot of trying to keep the wheels on the bus, and try to get better the next day. And money's tight, and the job market, and the labor and the workforce issues, and but at the end of the day, those that are thriving and they're most successful are those that can figure out a way to be proactive and prioritize things and think about things differently versus going into work. You open up the front door and there's
Hmm.
20 people arguing about something, and you're like, okay, I guess we're getting into this fire right now. And
Yeah.
it's just, crisis management kind of mentality. And um, it just doesn't allow you, it allows you to keep food on the table. It doesn't allow you to really um, thrive.
And then even just that stress in there while you're doing it sounds exhausting.
Right now, and over the past couple years, there's more stress in the workplace than I think I've seen anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Military, government, corporate companies, private sector, it doesn't matter. Right now, there's just more tension, there's more stress, there's more sensitivities, there's more anxiety and just uncertainty and fears circulating, people hesitating and just scared to do something like I don't know what's going to happen with the economy, and I don't know what's going to happen with politics, and who the new leader is going to be. Is it going to be Trump again? Is it going to be Biden again? Is it going to be like everybody's just they're all moving forward, but they're careful, and it's just an interesting time where there's just a lack of like confidence in the economy, in the workplace, generally speaking, not with everybody all the time, but just generally speaking, from my perspective.
So then how do you help them?
Well, um, that depends on a couple things. One, do they want help?
Mm. Huge.
It kind of starts with what's between the ears, the mindset. Like, where are they in their mindset? Not just being motivated and happy and everything's cool. Like, mindset is like, are you thinking about the future? Are you doing any planning? What is your plan? Do you have a plan? Are you optimistic, pessimistic? Are you sitting around waiting on, like, where is your mindset about things? Are you willing to listen? Are you willing to elevate your vision to a higher level? Are you willing to change? Are you willing to do some things differently? Are you coachable, trainable, or not? A lot of people aren't.
Yeah. Yep. I've said this before over and over and over again. You could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I've drowned a lot of horses that way, because I've wanted it more than them. It's like you
Yep.
seeing like someone coming to you and seeing your talent and you have this it factor and seeing across from the table somebody that has talent and ability and but you want it more than them because that you could have all the talent in the world, but that mindset is the deciding factor of what your life is going to be like.
Yeah. Jason, I can't tell you how many times I have gotten to know somebody, had a business conversation or two with them, and with my eyeballs, and they're not great eyeballs. Got round 2 for surgery coming up. So they're not the best eyeballs in the world, but even with my broke eyeballs, I can see their situation and I know exactly what is going on. I know exactly what to do to fix it. And I say, hey, here's how you should be thinking about this. Here are some things that I think you should consider as next steps. And they're like a bird on a perch. They ain't getting off that perch.
Yep.
They
Yep.
can't see it. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter what you show them, no matter how many guarantees you give them, this is foolproof guarantee. If you do these things, you will move the needle somewhere.
And they won't.
And they can't see it. They can't see it. So therefore their confidence is down and they don't trust and they're just nervous and another day goes by.
Another day goes by, and unfortunately, think about being in the military and hesitating during battle.
Yeah.
You're gone.
Yeah.
You're going to be wiped off the earth at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. You certainly do run the risk of being killed, injured, bad things happening if, hesitate. And, when you're talking about life and death and combat, I mean, there's obviously urgency there. That's a little bit different,
Yeah.
mindset of being in business because nobody, if I guess you hold a gun to people's head and they make a decision or this is, maybe they make a decision, but, no decision is a decision. And there are certain times where people, the impacts of making decision or not making decision can be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got an opportunity that, I'll give you an example. There's somebody I know that has an HR company and they're a good, thriving, awesome HR company. And their top competitor is starting to ramp down and get out of the business. They're thinking about selling, they're thinking about retiring, and they've got a thriving business, well-known group. And so I told the person that runs, my client that runs this other company, I was like, so what are you thinking? What do you want to do? What are your options? Like, I want to buy them. I want to take this opportunity. Like, I want to make it as like this opportunity is not going to come around in a long time. This is a golden opportunity. We're growing, we're thriving, and my number one competitor is talking about retiring. So you take over, you take their clients, you figure out an agreement, and push the throttle, right? Sometimes people see it, sometimes people don't. And I think it's some of those kind of things. And it's really, I kind of go back to like Robert Kiyosaki, the guy that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and some of his mentality, right? It's not about the haves and the have-nots and the rich and the poor. It's about who's informed and who's uninformed. And I think for people that may be struggling in business today, the question is, are you as informed on things as much as you need to be to give you the confidence you need to make the decisions you need to make, to do the things you need to do when you need to do it, and know you made a really good quality decision one way or the other? Go left, go right, go up, go down. Do you feel 100% confident you're making a high quality decision? Are you fully informed? Or are you just living in your bubble, in your
Mm.
silo, and not seeing the world in the way that it's really depicted out there? And so
Yeah.
it's a challenge, and that's where people like us, Jace, we come in because we see bigger things. We're not working in just one company. We see the bigger picture, and when you can open up people's eyes and you can show them things, most of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, from my perspective, when you can show people the light at the end of the tunnel and you can describe things differently and you can walk them to the water, they will eventually drink
Yeah.
because they want confidence. They want hope. You can actually do what I think is possible. I just don't know how to get from here to there and make that possible thing a reality. How about you, man? Do you see the same things yourself?
Absolutely. And there are the people that are the doers, and they're going to be the people that no matter what assuredness they had, again, going back to what you said earlier, you could give them, this is going to be guaranteed, this is going to work, and they won't make that movement. And that's fine. It's just knowing that you move on. There's not much you can do. And there's these other people that they will, all they need is a little bit of guidance.
Yeah. Well, I found a trick. I asked two questions. One, what do you think is possible?
Mm.
Are you as good as you know you can be, whether it's in your personal career or in your business? Is this the best? Or have you reached the pinnacle? Most people say no, no, we can improve, we can grow. We're good, but we're not great. And so there's always room to improve, right? Like, okay, well, what needs to happen for that to happen?
Yeah.
Well, the economy needs to get better. Okay, great. So what if it
What can you
doesn't?
do?
What can you do? What needs to happen? Well, I need more sales. Okay, so what needs to happen to get more sales? Well, we need better marketing. Okay, what needs to happen to get to better marketing? Like, what needs to happen,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
map it out. It's amazing.
And what is it that you can control? Because you can't go change the
Exactly.
economy.
Yeah. Well, the argument there is, well, when I look out in the economy, GDP is growing.
Yeah.
Forget what the news tells you. GDP is in great shape. The unemployment rate's in great shape. There are a lot of economic indicators that say things are going well. I talk to people in commercial real estate, residential real estate, and the broader aspects of the economy and construction. Everybody I know in the trades is busy and booked. Heck, I can't even put things, improve my back porch and not wait 2 months to get it done. Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's a lot of indicators out there that things are moving in a positive way. So if your competitors able to make money and stay in business, like, why can't you? If your competitor
Yes.
just hired 10 employees, why can't you, right? And so the economy, while it's not hitting on all cylinders, we're not maximizing the potential of our country right now, is still, by all intents and purposes, a pretty strong economy.
Yeah, no, and I see the same thing. And, there's a lot of fear around because, again, there's what the news pumps up. I don't pay a lot of attention to the news, though.
No. Yeah.
do you,
I
do you,
I watch the weather, and I watch sports because I'm a
Yeah,
sports guy, especially
me
this time
too.
of year with
Yeah.
football, college
Football,
football starting
yes.
up. Right? I've watched more TV in the past week or two than I have probably the whole year. Right?
Yep, yep.
Right? And so no, I don't deal a lot with the news. I stay up to date. I'll kind of thin through things, and I've got a little process I have for me to kind of keep tabs on things that I think are most important. But how many people were shot and killed in my town today, and how many people said something bad against a politician today, and
Yeah.
where they're going, and what all that drama, reality TV stuff. No, I don't listen to any of it. I don't. I focus on other things that I think are a bigger priority and creating my own future, for my family and my kids, helping my clients create a better future for them. Go define what the ideal life is for you, and let's figure out what needs to happen in your business to make it happen, and just go create it, go define it and create it. If you wait on the president to, throw you a bone, you're going to go out of business.
You're going to go out of business. If you're waiting for somebody else to come along to help you be successful, you're going to go out of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Opportunities are out there everywhere. You just got to recognize them. If you're and not everybody can, not everybody's blessed with the same skill sets to go out there and just see things. Oh, hey, look at there. That's a great opportunity there, right? I was kind of born into the entrepreneurial kind of mindset, and
Mm.
I'd be in a truck stop, sloppy spoon kitchen place early in the morning, slopping down greasy eggs and bacon with my dad at 5 o'clock in the morning before we go out and do some construction. And there'd be other people in there talking, other working men and women and police officers, just everyday working people in there. And they'd be talking about things like, yeah, man, I got up this morning and my door fell off the hinges. And, like my dad, he just hears it. He's got like radar for that kind of stuff. He's like, he'd walk by, hey, I heard you mention your door wasn't working. I'm happy to come by and take a look. Like he just saw the opportunity everywhere. And
That's awesome.
I mean, he was, and I grew up in that, and I'm the same way. John Maxwell has something called the 5 swings. So at the end of the day, if you only did the 5 things that you're truly the best at, that God blessed you with those skills and talents, and maybe not so many other people, and you only did those 5 things,
Mm.
you'd move the needle. One of those things for me is going into anybody's business. I can go to the airport. I can go to a restaurant. I can go to a place of business. I can have a conversation with a person or two over coffee. And I hear things. I see things. It just comes to me. And I'm like, yeah, man, this coffee shop probably needs some help because I noticed they got the last 3 orders wrong because people kept complaining and handing their drink order back. This isn't like, I just see that stuff, right? I can walk in a place of business and meet with a client or a prospect, and I can see people walking with their heads down, and the boss walks by and
Mm.
they avoid them. And, I just pick up on that stuff. And
That's
I
so
can
cool.
read it. I can sense it with like 90% accuracy. Not everybody has that skill, but opportunities are out there. I'm telling you, they're out there. You just have to be looking for them. And if you're unable to see that, then elevate. Surround yourself by different people that have different kind of perspectives that can help shape that with you. And man, you'll do great.
How do you, in this journey of like being self-aware, start to understand your 5 strengths?
Well, that's a powerful
Do we have
question,
time
buddy.
for that
That's a good
question?
one.
I don't know.
We might need to book some time on the Dr. Phil show for that one. That's a powerful question. It took me, in all honesty, Jace, I'm a business coach and executive coach, and I'm guiding and directing people every day. And people think I'm perfect, got all my crap together, and everything I
Yeah.
say is gospel, and that's all good and well. But the honest to God truth is, it took me a long time to figure that out. A long time.
Because I think of the guy, right, that comes to you and says, you have that it factor. And we all talk about the it factor, but what is it? What are
Yeah.
people
What is
seeing
your
that
it? Yeah.
what is your it?
Yeah.
For me, it's a big part of the curiosity, like just this sitting down in thinking of even that question because I want to know of like what makes you tick, like, and
Right.
so I did a double banger today, so this is my second filming for the day.
Okay.
Last week's episode was filmed at 2, and so as we sat down, she was like, I've never did a podcast this long. I hope it goes quick. And we sat down for like an hour and 10 minutes or whatever. And she was like,
Yeah.
wow, that conversation, it just flowed. I would have never thought that was that long. And she was like, you have a gift. And I've heard that over and over again. When I interviewed people, I was a sales director and I'd interview people for sales positions. And I got told by just about everybody that I'd ever interviewed, that was the best interview I've ever been on. I felt like I was just sitting, getting a cup of coffee with a friend.
Yeah.
That's my talent and my ability. And guess what? People told
Yep.
me things they would never tell anybody else. Mortifying things that prevented them from getting a job. Like
Yeah.
they would tell me things that they wouldn't tell anybody else because their guard was down and they were just talking to a friend over coffee.
Yeah.
And I got to see that real person, good, bad, or
Yeah.
indifferent.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got some special skill sets, Jace. I mean, you're a good people person. You're definitely an extrovert, an outgoing person. You're curious. You want to meet people and listen to their story and the good and the bad and the ugly and just you just like to learn. You're very hungry for knowledge, but you got a really good, caring, calm, cool way you do it that's
Thanks.
also blended in with like a lot of energy and passion and give a crap factor, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you
Yeah.
you and you're very smooth in how you uh, kind of navigate the conversations. And I think people, feel, at least I certainly feel, I've gotten to know you a little bit here and you're really good at breaking things down and navigating those things and really getting to the root of things. And so, which, it's probably helped you be successful, especially in sales, because, in today's world, it's relationship based. And if you don't do
Yeah.
those things and navigate that conversation, then you might not be as successful and close as many deals, I would imagine, right?
Well, and that's a big piece is, and I say like even the it factor or I'm good with people. What does that mean? That was always my biggest pet peeve when I'm
Yeah.
interviewing people. Is like I'm good with people. That's what I said too. That's why I got into sales. I was good with people. I
Yeah.
push people in saying, what does that mean? Tell me more about that because I
Yeah.
didn't know. Nobody ever pushed me. I had to sit and try to figure it out on my own, and I had to go through a lot of I starved a lot. I didn't eat a lot of, I didn't pay my bills. I was a struggling salesperson trying to figure out what was it? Why did I come here? I thought I was good with people and I'm learning from these salespeople, these things that I don't like doing and I'm not good with people. Right. So what is it?
Yeah.
And it ends up being that thing, right? That curiosity and that,
Yep.
but I had to figure it out and everybody is a little bit different. And that's why I'm so peaked at those 5
Yeah.
things, uncovering them. Because once you do, and you do those 5 things every day,
Yep.
lift
You
the lid
know,
off.
one of the most, I guess, underrated things about the most successful people in the world that you don't really hear about, they don't write about it in Forbes. No, they manage their time and they, take a bath in a certain type of bath bomb and they do
Yeah.
this. It's really simple. It's their ability to ask good questions at the right time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, my car's broke. So what's going on with my car? Well, it was a oil leak. Well, what caused the oil to leak? Like, I mean, just basic questions.
Yep.
Just because questions mean you're more interested versus interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You learn more asking questions than you do giving answers, right? And I think people that are some of the most successful people that I've come in contact with or read about or studied, they know how and when to ask questions in a certain way to get to the answers, and to pull things out of people to get to know them, to build a relationship. One thing you're really good at, Jace, is building rapport quick and building some trust and getting, earning the right to ask more questions that are a little deeper than some people may or may not be comfortable with.
Right. Yeah.
And so once you've earned that right, and you're really good at kind of starting that off in a very smooth manner. So that's definitely one of your strengths. But you ask the question, so how do you figure out your 5 swings, right? Big question. So the 5 swing, I think it's important for people that are listening to this that may not be familiar with it to understand a piece of background here, right? The 5 swings is like an analogy to, you have a task of chopping down a tree and you're given an axe and you get 5 chops at the tree. How do you do it? Some people say, I just beat the heck out of it until I get her done. I hit it really hard. I hit it, the 5 swings. I hit them really. Some people say, yeah, I spend 20 minutes sharpening the axe before I hit it. Some people say different things, right? But what are the best ways to chop down that tree in that situation? And it's, kind of an analogy for, well, what are really the 5 things that you're really the best at? What are the gifts that God gave you? He made everybody different for a reason. Thank God.
Yeah.
And what are your 5 swings? And you'll be surprised at how few people actually can tell you.
Yeah.
Most
I would
people are
not be
kind of
surprised, by
lost.
the way, but yes, I think most people would be.
Most people are kind of lost, and you ask those kind of questions. I coached a general in the Air Force. He's retired. Well, he wasn't an active duty general. He was retired, and he was going into a kind of a different kind of business. And I coached him. This guy had been in the Air Force for 35 years. He was a 2-star general. Made it to the top.
Yeah.
And he was kind of waffling around, like, because I asked him, like, so what's the vision of your company? Why do you want to sell these services? What's your differentiation? How are you going to be different? What's your target audience? I asked him some basic, easy questions. And he kind of mumbled and fumbled around, which a lot of people do in the beginning, right? When you're kind of planning out building a business. And then a few minutes later, I just recognized some things in the conversation. And I said, okay, let's take a time out. What are your 5 swings? And here's a guy you'd think we would fire him off.
No. Yeah.
And he mumbled and fumbled around, and I took him through this process, and he obviously knew John Maxwell, but I guess he hadn't really studied that particular piece of John Maxwell's studies. And I was like, you know what? We need to go through this exercise. And he kind of hesitated, like I'm a general. Like, I don't know if I need, this is like basic stuff, I was like, no, you really need to trust me, and you need to go through this exercise. So you asked me, how do you do that? So step 1 is an assessment. Okay.
Yep.
I use DISC assessments. There's a reason I use them. There's different types and styles and formats you can use but DISC is not a personality assessment like most other assessments. It's much deeper. It's much more quantitative and qualitative in nature. And man, it really nails people. I mean, this thing's built off 100 years of the best science in the world, and it's deadly accurate every time. It's really good. It's why I use it. And the way the reports break down, it's so simple, so easy to navigate through and pick out your strengths and your weaknesses and what motivates you and your ideal work environment and how you think and how you make decisions. And I mean, it really lays that out. And so I'll start with the DISC assessment. They get a report, I get the report, and then we schedule time to debrief it. And I walk them through it. I explain every single detail. I've got supplemental tools and materials that really breaks this stuff out, and how to, fill out forms, and just, I got it all laid out, and I take them through it, and they're like, oh, wow, I knew some things, but I didn't know some things. And that's
Yeah.
why that happens. And that's why people have certain perceptions of me, because I'm a high D, which means I'm a go getter, kick butt, take names, get to the bottom line results kind of person. And they're a detail oriented person. And that's why they hate me, because I'm not detail oriented. Like things click when you can break things down on that level.
Yeah.
The next thing I do is I do something called diamond mapping. Diamond mapping, if you think of like a cross, like an XY axis, right?
Yep.
It breaks down you into 4 different categories. There's financial, there's fitness, there's kind of like your career, business side of things, and then there's your relationships. Okay, and it underneath all that is, how you eat, how you exercise, your mental wellness, the mind, the body, and the spirit. It's all of those things. Those are just kind of the higher umbrellas. And the exercise forces you to think about where you are today on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you in those 4 categories? Nobody
Yeah.
ever is tens across
Yeah.
the board, right? And so when you plot this out in a kind of a quad format in an XY axis, and then you say, okay, put a dot on the number going from 0 is in the center to 10 out to the outer edge, and each of those 4 things, and then you connect those dots. Do you have a triangle, or do you have a diamond? Or does it look like a square? Like, what does this thing look like? Why did you pick a 6 in your relationships with your family and your friends? Why did you pick a 5 in your finances? Like, where are you in the mix of things? And that exercise allows you to really break down and then ask the question, so what is this ideal life you really want to live? And are you living it yet?
Mm.
What's keeping you from doing it? What's holding you back? And then it gets into fears and, you know, lack of confidence and insecurities and lack of decision making, or some, there's all the reasons for all that. The third thing I do is I take them through the 5 whys exercise.
Mm.
Get on a Word document and write every single thing about you that you think you know about you, that you think identify you. Are you proactive, reactive? Are you an extrovert or an introvert? Are you tall? Or are you short? Are you, whatever, right? It's go through it. And I've got some examples I give people, and they can kind of go through things and kind of start plugging in the right words. And we just make a laundry list, take inventory of you. And it takes a couple times to go through that and really map that out and really get clarity. And then from there, we take 2 to 3 pages full of stuff and boil that into 5 things. At the end of that process, they are 100% clear on who they are, what they bring to the
That's
table,
so cool.
what they should be doing more of, what they should be doing less of, and what those 5 swings really are, and how to leverage that to the best of their ability to meet their ideal life they want to live, to meet all those goals, and to have a 10 in the diamond map thing, right? And connected back to your disc and your profile and all of those things. Those are the first 3 things that I do. Now, there's a lot of training. There's some coaching in between there, and some interesting conversations that weave in and out of all those things. But generally speaking, when you go through that process, man, it's eye opening. I've
I
never
bet.
had anybody go through that process and be like, yeah, this was lame. Like, I already knew that. Like, everybody's like, oh my God, I have so much more clarity. You're absolutely right. And things just click differently. When that happens and you can simplify things and get that level of clarity, you whatever's next as far as a plan and goals and objectives and whatever you need to do to hit, wide open, man. It's
Wide
all
open.
full
Well,
throttle.
basically, you have a compass. You know, and you even think about being an
Good way to put
entrepreneur
it.
and all the things that could possibly come at you and decisions you have to make and, you know, products and services or what's the gimmicks, what's the things you say yes to, what's the things that you say no
Yeah.
to. But if you have this boiled down at the beginning, and I love even, you know, you talk about the general who thinks I don't need to do this. This is basic. But we need to get back to basic because if not, I think a lot of times people are running 100 miles an hour and they don't even know what direction they're going in, if it's right or
Yep.
wrong, because they don't know who they are.
Yep. Well, the interesting thing is, Jace, people are one of two things. They're either in control or they're being controlled,
Yeah.
or they're, in their words, alone on an island going nowhere fast versus going far with a group of people. Those dynamics determine where you end up. The decisions that you make in those dynamics I just described will determine how far you go, what you do, how well you do it. And a lot of people right now, because of the world that we live in, everything's interconnected, interdependent, the global economy, and things happen over here and the prices change over there, and just the way the world is and how fast things evolve. Because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, life around us is changing faster and faster and faster. More change is going to happen in the next 15 years than the past 150 combined, right? So things are spinning really, really fast, and most people are trying to keep up with that, trying to survive that, and are going really nowhere really fast. It's like being in the middle of a tornado,
Yeah.
and they're going
Yeah.
really, really fast, going round and round, and then it shoots them out, and they're 10 feet away from where they were yesterday. And they're like, wow, man, I'm really tired. I'm working my butt off, and I
Yeah.
didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a gentleman a couple of years ago and it's kind of this thing. And he was describing his life. He's like, I go to work, I work all day. I get out of work. I go stop at the grocery store. I come home. I pet the dog. I, you know, do the things at home. I go to bed, wake up and do it all over again. And it was like over and over and over again. It's like, do you want to stop that merry-go-round? Do you know, like you can stop that from happening every single day. Let's stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's called the daily grind, man. And people get comfortable because a lot of people, 80% of the people in the world, or actually 90%, I got my facts mixed up, 90% of the people in the world are okay with getting comfortable, enjoying the safety and the security of working for a company. Every 2 weeks they get a paycheck. Every 2 weeks they get
Yeah.
benefits, and they commute. They go back and forth and take the kids to school and to soccer practice, and they establish a routine and a life, and it gets comfortable. And 10 years later, they aren't exactly where they want to be, and they look at themselves in the mirror like, man, I
Yeah.
have less hair, I'm overweight, and I feel like I haven't achieved anything, and I'm wearing the same shirt I did 10 years ago. Like what's going on here? Like,
Same shirt,
and
less hair, 25 pounds heavier.
yeah,
Bam. Damn it.
and it and then they're like, who am I? Like, where am I
Yeah.
at? They're like lost in it. A lot of people are. And that's where they've got to learn to think differently and open up that perspective to some different ways of thinking that the other 10% of the people in the world are doing, that are more, the continuous high achievers.
Yeah.
And when you open up that possibility, man, anything's possible.
And that's why I'm so passionate about these conversations like this and this conversation we're having, because it's helping people open up those possibilities. Maybe somebody's listening right now and they're realizing, I don't know what my 5 swings are. And it's motivating them to take that step, because anybody that we can encourage to do that, anyone that's a goal of mine. Anyone that I can help turn on that light and uncage them to really want to figure themselves out and become more self-aware. That's a game changer, such a life changer. So these conversations, I think, as people are listening to them, the more we can have conversations like this, the more people can become self-aware.
Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about it because I think being informed, being aware, understanding there are ways to do anything that you want to do in your business or your life or your career or whatever that may be, there are options. You can do something different. You can do something bigger or better or whatever. And so I ask your audience, take a look at yourself in the mirror tonight. Are you happy with you? Are you where you want to be? Are you fulfilling your absolute best? Are you completely maximizing your potential? Are you living in the house that you want to live in, driving the kind of car you want to drive, spending time with the family, going on vacation? Are you truly, truly living the ideal life you really want and you feel you deserve to live? And if you're not, there's good news because there are ways you can change that. You can talk to some different people like us. You
Yep.
can connect with coaches. There are so many resources. There are so many things out there that you can connect to. And if you don't know where to go to do that, then go to Jason's Roar podcast
Yeah.
and put links in the show notes for them to your stuff, my stuff, whatever. And I'll have a conversation with you. I'll point you in the right direction. I'm telling you, life can be a lot easier than you it may be for you. It can be a lot easier for you in your business. It doesn't have to be the way it is if it's not the best way it can be. You just need to open up your mind, have some conversations, connect with the right kind of people, and the art of the possible will open up and you'll do it. You will do it.
You'll do it. You'll do it. And if you're sitting there and you've answered yes to the questions that Jason just asked, the good news is you're here and you're listening to this. So you're getting there, right? Like you're getting there, and there's the resources. There's more resources. Check out Jason's Soar Higher podcast, another great resource. Another, just giving the resources in the knowledge to people.
Yeah. Yeah. The podcast has been a big hit. And it's because it's my way of giving. It's my way of providing free access to leaders, to professionals, to experts, in all walks of life. If you want to figure out how to, connect with the right marketing people, we talk about how to connect with the right kind of marketing people. If you're looking to grow your business or scale your business or sell your business, we've got information on how to do that. If you're looking, on an individual level to, go from mid-level management to VP or C-suite level, and you don't know what that looks like and what have you, we've got that podcast is full of all kinds of information, tools, and resources and experts talking about it that you can connect to. Um, that's free to you. And we offer in our group, we offer free consultations for folks to just listen, figure out where they're at, give them some free advice. If they want to work with us and it's a good fit, great. Then we'll work together with them and help them out. If they're not able to, or they're not ready, or whatever, they're okay. That's fine too. But at least at the end of that conversation and having access to all of our stuff, you'll be a lot more informed than you were before. And I think
Yeah.
that's the next step. So, if you're out there in business, you're out there in your career, people want to try to boil the ocean at one time. Just think about the next step. What's the next step I need to
Yeah.
take? I need to be more informed. Okay, where do I need to go to be more informed? I need to go to this podcast. I need to connect with Jason at Roar. I need to connect with somebody else, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
what is the next step? And just take that next step and let the next step follow when it needs to follow. And eventually you'll start walking and you'll start jogging and you'll start running. And before long, you'll be where you want to be.
Great mic drop. Jason, thank you so much for coming on, doing this crossover. It's been so awesome being on this other side, asking you questions and getting to know more about you, brother.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy it, man. I enjoy what I do. It's part of my 5 swings is to be an inspiration to others. If I can come from nothing and be something that I define as success for me, then anybody can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to give. That's why I have a coaching business, why I have a podcast. It's all about taking my 30 years of knowledge, education, mentorship, tools, resources, and there's a ton of that stuff in there, and giving it to the next generation. Because I think leaders are about 3 things, Jace. Leaders are about motivating and influencing people to do things. Leaders are about growing new leaders. And number 3, leaders are about setting people up for success. You and I can't run every company in America. We can't be the CEO forever. We can't be, everything to everybody all the time. We have our turn in the seat, and then somebody else has got to sit in the seat, and then somebody else has got to sit in the seat. And it's our jobs to make sure that the next one that sits in that seat doesn't get ejected out of the seat and run off into the ditch, right? They can take, things a lot farther, a lot faster, a lot smoother than us, and continue to make it better for the next group. And I think that's what it's all about, buddy.
That's what it's all about. Thanks again for coming on and sharing all this with the audience.
No, happy to anytime, and look forward to having you on our show again too.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it too. We'll get Grant to schedule it up.
What, you have a podcast, Ballard? I didn't know that.
Anytime we can task Grant with more work, I'm up for it.
I'll add a ticket.
Add a ticket. That is awesome. Well, have a great night, and thanks again.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one.
You too.